Tell me why.
There, we got our Backstreet Boys out of the way early. Hello, it's Jack, and let's have a chat about the first chapter of Tell Me Why. For those of you who don't know, Tell Me Why is the new game by DontNod Entertainment, who made Life is Strange, and I thought, let's do something with that. I didn't necessarily want to parody it, because that would have felt wrong for evident reasons, but I thought, well, let's have a chat about it. Let's talk about it as it comes out. Why not? That'll be fun. It's a game that touts its own self-importance, and I don't think it does so undeservedly, though there is still a lot to really talk about in terms of it being a game, and a game happening right now in this current climate. And full disclosure, I am a white cis guy. You can argue that this game is not for me, and that's fine. You can say that. You can just click off this video right now if you don't want to hear me. But I am bisexual, which gives me a +4 to my diversity score, and also a +6 to my invisibility. Woo! But tell me why. It's going to be a weird video continually saying that and not feeling like I'm Cole Phelps interrogating someone. Overall, I actually quite liked this first chapter. It was interesting. It was definitely a better sell than I think DontNod have had in their first episodes of like Life is Strange 1 and 2. I'm interested to know more, which they're typically good at. They can at least set up a mystery and make me want to know more a lot. I do have some minor worries, but that we can get to later, it's fine. The fact that we don't have to wait long between episodes is very good, to the point I'm wondering why we're even doing episodic releases at all. If you're doing this weekly, all the episodes must be pretty much done by now. You could have just released them all in one go. But hey, someone's got to keep the episodic format going. Oh, and for those worried about spoilers, this is going to be the non-spoilery part of the video, and there will be a spoilery part of the video later on, but I'll give like time code so you can skip to the end or whatever. Right, so Tell Me Why actually kind of really pleasantly surprised me, because I had a feeling that it was going to be something different than what it was based on the marketing. The main thing I knew about the marketing, it was going to be, I think, the first or one of the first playable trans characters ever. And that's great. Really into that, really into like having new experiences when I'm playing anything, really into having like a new story. And they've really gone to town on it. They've like hired an actual trans actor to play the person. And they've also explicitly stated up front that they've done a lot of research into this, and it shows. This has some thoughtful writing that I think shines through in a lot of areas, and I feel like I'm loading all my statements in advance. But I can't fault the like representation on display here, and it was an actual aim of this game, you can tell, and congratulations, you have succeeded in that area. I am really just loading my statements here, and I like the game. I read an article on Vice that said that it felt that the representation was very safe, and I don't disagree, but I also don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think you can have these stories about trans people, about LGBT people, and tell it from their perspective without constantly bombarding them with like transphobia or anything like that. You don't need to do that. It is not like a necessary part of making one of these characters. You can just have a story and have that be part of the story without, you know, beating someone with a stick constantly and in a way that your audience is going to, well, at least a part of your audience is going to find quite uncomfortable. I did see that there's actually a part on their FAQ where you can find out, is this going to trigger some things for you? And you know, fair enough, they're willing to put spoilers on their actual website in order to make people feel more comfortable. That's pretty good. That's not to say that there isn't any friction in the game, but it's played in a different way. There isn't like someone's uncle from Thanksgiving who's just ready to like go on a tirade about how your people are just sick and twisted. No, there's none of that here. It's all played a bit more subtly. It's all played a bit more in how everyone talks to one another, how everyone acts around each other. And it's actually one of the parts I really like about the game. And it's worth mentioning because this has been like their main part of their marketing. Like, this is what they've been pushing, to the point I didn't know other things about this game. And it's interesting to be surprised by them. But the story, the actual game part of the game. You play as twins, Tyler and Allison, and you are reunited after years of being separated after unfortunate circumstances, which is like thrown at you in the first scene of the game, where one of you stabbed your mother. It doesn't say, it just says child because it's a secret. Because apparently your mother didn't like you having a haircut. I wonder which one did that. You're going back to your old family home because no one's living there anymore. It might as well be time to sell it now that you're adults and reunited together again. And there's a lot of memories in that old house. There's some not very nice memories, especially because, you know, Mom being kind of crazy and trying to kill her kids, and then kids having to kill Mom. That's kind of messed up. They don't even refer to her as Mom when they're doing this. They keep referring to her by her name, Mary Ann, and that's something I quite liked. It's just a little detail, but, you know, you don't really want to say that she's your mommy. She may have been their mother, but she wasn't their mommy. But it's then when you get to the house where you discover, oh, here's the other thing which may have been in the marketing, but it completely flew by me. They have powers. They can talk to each other telepathically, and then it turns out that they can see into the past, their own memories, like visualized in front of them. I had no idea this was a thing, and it brought up the question to me of why isn't this a Life is Strange game? This is basically Life is Strange 3 because we have people with powers exploring this old American town of like Twin Peaks knockoffs, and we have like choices and consequences, and it plays exactly like Life is Strange basically. It's weird. The only reason I think this isn't Life is Strange is because Square Enix owns that, and Microsoft wanted to put up the money for this one. So we have a Life is Strange style experience without actually being Life is Strange, which, okay, whatever. We don't have to bring up Arcadia Bay or whatever. There's no continuity. This is a fresh start, a fresh story. But the memory powers are also something interesting because the two twins can remember things differently, and it's up to you, the player, to choose who you believe on certain things, and this is your choices and they will have consequences. The thing is, it doesn't really make sense as a mechanic. Why would I believe one of these people over the other when I'm meant to trust both of them enough to play them? There's a big one you have to do in a supermarket at one point, and I legitimately didn't see the point of it. It felt very inconsequential, and you know, the thing is, they could both be remembering something wrong. The truth could be like a blend of things. I'm really not sold on it as a mechanic. I feel like it was there for a marketing reason, and yet here I am. I didn't even know this was a mechanic until I started playing the game. It's very, very strange. I do like that the twins are different, though. They feel very different. Tyler, the brother, feels like a very collected person, someone who's been through a lot of therapy, someone who understands their emotions, very in check with them, while Allison feels a little bit more prickly. She feels a little bit cold sometimes, but she's aware of things. Tyler's been a little bit distant, a little bit separated from the town in which they are in, while Allison knows things and knows how people act and some dirty deeds that some people have been doing, and yeah, so she's kind of like wiser than him in some ways, while he's wiser than her in others. But they are very similar in the fact that they don't really care about these powers I mentioned. When you first discover the telepathy, it is so matter of fact. It's, oh, we have the voice again. Yes, now we are reunited. We have the voice. Hooray, we can talk telepathically, and we're not going to question this whatsoever. I guess this is why this isn't Life is Strange, because we often mull about the powers in Life is Strange, where in here we don't care. Oh look, we can see memories, like, from our head, both of us together. We can see these, like, fantastic visual mirages, a shared dream almost. Don't question it, it's fine. The choices as well outside of the memories also feel very weird. I'm pretty sure that the only reason the game asks us to select a dialogue option now and then is to have gameplay within this game so that we're not just watching a movie, even if it doesn't make sense. Like, the first dialogue option you choose is when you're Tyler, and you're just leaving this place where you've ended up growing up for the past however long, and you're asked, what are you going to miss about this place? And you have the choice between the food or the people. And I feel like that's a character building moment, depending on who you choose, to the point where I've just met this guy, I don't really know what he likes. Is he going to say the food because he's a bit of a jokester? Is he going to say the people because he's quite a sentimental person? I don't know, and I feel like you should just, like, railroad me a bit there, establish the character. I don't know what I'm going to pick there. But again, we need to have gameplay within our game, so I guess every now and again we'll ask you a question and ask you to make some choice which won't matter. This is technically an adventure game as well, so technically to have gameplay, we should have some puzzles, and there's only really like one puzzle in the whole game, and it's quite simple. It's that vein of puzzle in which you are given a book and you have to read a certain section of the book to find the solution to the puzzle, sort of like the Uncharted games do frequently. And the book we have here is a book of fairy tales, and I'm sure that there are many people who have read through that book and have found many allusions and like things that can be applied to the story, possible foreshadowing, possible like character defining things in there. I could not read that book. There is a lot to read, and I had a game to play. I'll read whatever the game dictates me to read when I need to, but for now I'm good, thank you. And I think that's really all I can... Oh, and the game looks very, very impressive, I should say. It is actually a big graphical step up from Life is Strange. It looks a lot more realistic. It looks really pretty for it as well. Microsoft clearly giving them the money so that they can just go to town on this game, which I really like. And I think that's all I can really talk about. So if you don't want to see spoilers, click down in the timecode below and we can skip to the end and I'll just give a big conclusion and stuff like that. Okay, ready? Right, spoilers. So, the discovery that Mom may not have been as transphobic as we think is actually the kind of thing I'm really interested in. I had the horrible, horrible idea that this whole game was going to be, oh, we get to choose between whose memories we believe, so Tyler remembers, oh, I was being transphobed against, and Allison remembers, no you weren't, you were just a brat, and it's going to be like, kind of like, you know, victim shaming or whatever. But it's not like that at all, because the crux of the mystery is that Mom may not have been transphobic, but then what was going on when she was trying to kill us? She was definitely trying to kill us. They're both in agreement on this, and so they're both very confused, and that's like the crux of the mystery, what we're trying to figure out right now. And I do want to see where we go with this. It is the main reason I want to be playing, which is good that it's the main plot point. The powers are just sort of ancillary, which I suppose is why we're not going to be giving them like too much of an explanation or anything like that. It's still kind of weird though. But the big thing that they seem to be brushing against is that Mom may have had... I keep calling her Mom, they call her Mary Ann in this. I should join in on that. But the big thing they keep brushing up against is that Mary Ann may have had mental health issues. And that for me feels like, okay, now we're like adding more weight onto our tightrope walkers like balance pole. We're already like carrying the like trans representation stuff, so that's already like a bit of a tightrope as it is, but we're doing well because we're playing it safe. But oh, now we're adding mental illness stuff from other people. We're gonna fall over if we're not careful, and we don't really have enough to go on in the first episode to decide if we're going to fall off yet. The whole episode feels like we don't really have enough to make a definitive call on like how good the game is going to be in general. There's like too much up in the air right now, especially as like later plot points start to happen. The fact that the sibling relationship is going to be a factor in this, and we are like deliberately building up like choices and consequences which are going to play into this. We even have the results screen that like every game since like The Walking Dead has had, where it's like, oh, you picked this and everyone else picked this. Which, by the way, I was playing on the PC version from the Microsoft Store, and the percentages were all very exact, as if not a lot of people have been playing it on the PC Store, which... okay. But yeah, I want to see some payoffs from that before I really make any kind of judgment call. And then there's the fact that Tyler lied. Tyler was not the person who stabbed Mom at all. It was Allison. It was still totally self-defense, but Allison did it, and then Tyler decided to take the blame for it like a good kid. I guess. What a good brother he is, taking the blame for his sister. He is literally Kazuma Kiryu. Of course, another thing the game has is the gremlin guy at the end. Like, all the way through the game, there's this whole, like, oh, we were like kids, we had this own little fantasy world, we were the crafty goblins, we had, like, treasure and stuff like that, and there were all these characters that, like, some we made up, some that Mary Ann made up, and one of them is the Mad Hunter, and we just see the Mad Hunter in the police station at the end, which is weird and kind of like tonally whiplashing, I guess. It's completely out of nowhere, and I'm wondering what that's all about. And then we also see the Mad Hunter again in the flashback to that night where we just see him in the woods. And at that point I was like, okay, what is this? Is the Mad Hunter meant to be an analogy for Mary Ann? Or what? I don't know. Again, episode 1, there is just so much left up in the air that I have no idea even where to look with this. And I guess I should lead on to the criticisms now that I do have of the game. And, oh god, it's DontNod. DontNod is basically my criticism. DontNod's writing is a little bit all over the place sometimes. I have been praising a lot of the writing in this game so far, but a lot of the parts I really like, I feel like are the parts where they consulted with someone about something, like Tyler sounding like he's been through therapy and things like that. And then when DontNod are left to write their own stuff, I'm less a fan of it. For the record, my favourite Life is Strange game is Before the Storm, the one that DontNod didn't write. And I think that DontNod's writing undermines quite a lot of things in this game. I could bring up some surface stuff, like there are just some terrible, terrible lines in this game. When you're underneath the house trying to look for a way in, and you find like your old treasure.
We could make treasure out of anything. Our imaginations were that powerful.
Our imagination was that powerful. And that is such a corny line, and it's not called out at all. It is played completely straight, and it sounds like something from a Neil Breen film.
Something incredible is about to happen.
There's like another line as well when you're in the supermarket and you have to decide like who was telling the truth. Was Allison telling the truth and the lady was being annoying, or was Tyler telling the truth and our mom was being annoying? And someone says she was going all Jack Thompson or something, and like, Jack Thompson? We haven't thought about Jack Thompson in like a decade. It is such a strange reference to just suddenly be thrown at us. I have no idea why they thought that was a good line. That is so weird. But like the odd bad line is like surface level stuff when there's really just a lot of moments that are genuinely undermined. When you're on the boat and you see this whale come out of the surface, it feels like it should be like a special moment. It feels like you should just like really just be soaking it in. But the water from the splash has not even hit the lake when your sister turns to you and says, I gotta make a phone call. And like, oh, sorry I ruined the moment. It's like, but the moment didn't even have time to become really a moment. You just cut it off right there. Just immediately. It felt so weird. It felt so rushed. And there's a few other moments like where a character will just get over something very, very quickly. At one point, a redneck points a gun at you because he thinks that you're an intruder, not knowing who you actually are and you own this house. And you get over the fact that someone was ready to pull the trigger in like 2 seconds to murder you very quickly. Very, very quickly. You don't even really bring it up again. Even at the end, when Tyler takes the blame for Allison, it happens so quickly. Like, Mary Ann has just fallen down into the water and you immediately have this like plan of what you're going to do, Tyler, even though you are 10 years old or something like that, and you've just immediately got this plan of how you're going to do this, and you're going to be lying to the police. You know exactly what you're going to do. You don't care about the consequences, but you're going to do this just immediately. There isn't like a moment of contemplation. There isn't like a moment to breathe for this. It is just straight away. And it is those moments that make me kind of nervous, because as I said, this is a tightrope. You can fall off so easily doing this, and there are just those little cracks which could become bigger cracks, and when those bigger cracks appear, well, I remember how disappointed I was when Life is Strange 1 ended. And all the choices we made were pointless, and the big calamity we were trying to avoid was caused by something stupid that didn't really make any sense, so great. It might end up turning out to be good and all these worries are completely unfounded, but again, this is just on what episode 1 has offered us. But let's not be negative all the while. I've got like a bunch of stuff that like I noticed in the game that I really liked. Firstly, did anyone notice that Allison looks directly into the camera whenever you're about to make a big choice? She does it for accepting the ring, and she also does it pretty explicitly. I think the camera is looking directly front-facing towards her in the police station, which was a bit jarring, but I kind of liked it because it's like, player, you've got to, like, do things, by the way. Come on, make the choice, God. Does that mean Allison can see through the fourth wall? Is that why she's so prickly? Because she can see this disheveled piece of crap playing her game? I'd be annoyed too. I also love that lake ride bit because it is an actual like boat ride you are taking, and you can just play it all out in real time. You can wait for yourself to arrive at the location, and you can spend your time just doing whatever you want. It's really good. I really like that, and I especially liked it because there's a lot you can see from there. Like at one point I remember seeing a campsite and I was like, that feels like I'm being drawn attention to it. I wonder if it's like geographical foreshadowing, like, oh, we're going to go to that campsite, oh, we're going to go to that place with the smoke coming out the chimney. So that's nice. I'd really hope to see that paid off. The times where you play as Tyler and the times where you play as Allison, I think are done very well. We get to play as Tyler when he's first coming into the town again, and that's really cool because we get to see things from like almost like a fresh perspective. Tyler has not been here in like a decade while Allison still lives there, so it's like fresh eyes, so we're put basically in the place of Tyler at that point. And then when we change to be Allison when we go to the store was also kind of cool because we go there to talk to a woman called Tessa and she's acting weird. But if we were playing as Tyler and like Tyler said, well, she was acting weird, it might feel like, oh, but she always acts weird. We wouldn't know. But if Allison's saying she's acting weird, who lives here, who knows her, then we know she's acting weird. We know that something's off and that we need to probe her for some information. I also liked how they portrayed the subtle transphobia. You know, no one really knows how to greet Tyler. We like start off like bad, like redneck guy. I don't even remember his name. Like he just completely craps himself when he tries to greet Tyler properly and just fails completely. Like comes off very, very insensitive. But he keeps mumbling that he's trying and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, but Tyler's not really having any of it. And we get like a little better when we go to the store and like both the owner and also Tessa, who's there, they both really don't know how to react either, and they're a little bit awkward, a little bit weird. I remember the guy there asked about like shaving stuff, and it felt like you're like leaning into trying to be welcoming so hard that you're looping back around again. You're being kind of weird about it. And it's weird to say that I liked that until we get to Eddie, the police chief, who had been raising Allison all this time. And Eddie knew exactly how to greet Tyler. Eddie nails it. He is the only adult who actually manages to like talk to Tyler properly. Tyler's whole thing is just treat me like a normal person, like any person wants, and everyone else is being weird about it. Oh God, what do I do? What do I do? How do I talk to you? Just treat me like a normal person. Oh God, how do I do that? There's like some tension between him and Tyler anyway, but like you get the feeling that Eddie's a good guy. Just because he immediately goes for that handshake, he immediately calls you like the fitting picture of a man or whatever. He gets it. He does it right. And speaking of things that were maybe a thing, Tyler, in my game, tried the armory door in the police station. Now, I couldn't go in the armory. Even when I had the keys, the game doesn't really give you the option, but I totally saw Tyler trying to get in there. And considering that the next episode is going to be us basically breaking into a police station, and yeah, that's about all that I really wanted to talk about in terms of like details. So now we come to the point of the video where we go wild with speculation about what's going to happen next. I don't actually have much I want to say where I think is going to happen. I just know things I don't want to happen going forward. Please, please, please don't let the whole town be in on this like mystery with the mother. Please don't do anything like that. I don't want this to be Twin Peaks again. We have enough like Twin Peaks inspired things from you, DontNod. It's fine. You can do a different story. I don't want there being like a greater conspiracy than Mom was acting weird. Let's find out why. And there's like a few things that made me think that, oh, maybe there's going to be something else. Like Max's powers was like a plot in Life is Strange, but oh, there was also Rachel Amber's disappearance. What about that? And I feel like this game might also be trying to do something along those lines. I saw those missing posters in the police station and I was like, oh god, you're setting something up. This is not good. I don't like this. Please don't set up another murder mystery. I can't stand this. I guess I can come up with some like little points of speculation. I think the fact that they are quite flippant with Mom's medication, that it's like a total red herring. Like, they don't really even detail what she was taking. And, you know, you've got the labels there, so you could possibly speculate from there, but no, we don't really bother. So I don't think that mental illness problems are actually going to be as big a thing, but it's kind of flimsy. My justification for that is kind of weak. But if you want to get really wild, here's what I think. The cause of all of this is Daddy. Where is Daddy? He is not even mentioned, or if he was, I completely missed it. It feels like a really weird thing to just skim over, and I think the father is actually going to be a big player in this. My big wild theory is that the father of these two was in an abusive relationship with Marianne, and he was abusing her, which sent her a bit weird, and then father leaves the picture somehow. I don't know, he explodes before they're born or whatever, and so they get to be taken care of by Mom while Dad's not around. But then like Marianne is like traumatized, and that's sort of what sets her off, maybe. I've realized this is possibly contradicting my previous theory, but whatever. I may be right, I may be wrong, I may be both. There is like a book on toxic masculinity on Tyler's table when you start the game, so it's not necessarily not set up at all, and especially like your interactions with everyone, like the redneck is just, how do you act like masculine? And oh boy, the redneck wasn't acting masculine. He was a horny drunk. He just like looked at that picture for a very long time. Although maybe he's part of it. Maybe he was like, oh, I knew your mother. Oh, she was in a bad relationship and I could have taken care of her if I wasn't just such a drunk redneck. Maybe this is the case with the father, and maybe we find out by using the memory powers and going back to when we were babies. Because it'll be the only way we will ever remember him. Because we never mention him, so I'm guessing we don't know our father, and when you're babies, you don't remember anything. So this is sounding an awful lot like the butterfly effect. Oh god, we're going to get memories from the womb. Please don't make the butterfly effect again. You did that with Life is Strange 1. But yeah, that's Tell Me Why. Very interested to see what happens next. It was a good time, honestly. It was the strongest start that DontNod's had, which I think says a lot about their previous adventures. Here's hoping that they can actually hold it together and not just fall over onto their face, because oh god, there are signs. There are like those little cracks I mentioned, just those little cracks which could just become a bit bigger if you go over a little pothole and you gotta replace the whole windscreen, and I'm sorry, we can't afford to replace the windscreen. Microsoft have already banked on us so much. We've got to justify all the Game Pass subscriptions. I'll do a video next week covering episode 2 when I play that, and possibly episode 3 after that. I really ought to get some light so that I'm not crammed into this corner here, so I can do it a little bit more comfortably. But until then, I'll see you later.